Up next, we're going to talk about the structural organization of the body. We're going to talk about the levels of organization that we're going to be working with as we go through our anatomical study. Starting out, we're going to start at the smallest, most basic level, which is matter, which is made up of atoms. And yes, remember to never trust an atom because they make up everything. Let you laugh at that one for a second. Now, when we put two or more atoms together, we get what we call a molecule. A molecule can be really small. This is a water molecule of just 3 atoms, 1 oxygen and 2 hydrogens. Some molecules are much, much larger. Every single little round thing here is an atom, and you can see there are hundreds of them in this protein. Some proteins are going to be many, many times this size. This is just the molecular level, and this is common to literally everything on Earth. Everything that takes up space on Earth is made out of atoms. Now, in order to be alive, you have to have cells. That's our most basic definition of life. All living things are made of cells, and in the human body there are lots and lots of different kinds of cells. They come in lots of different sizes. Some of them are so small that they're very hard for us to see with a microscope. Some of them are so large that we can see them with very low magnification. But each cell is made up of probably trillions of molecules. And in fact, the outside layer of a cell is made up of a double layer of fat molecules. And everything inside the cell is made up of many, 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 many molecules. Okay? And I know for those of you who are familiar with, you've done some basic biology, you've done some chemistry, this is way too basic, but I know for a lot of people it's really hard to get a handle on visualizing this. So I'm going to come back to this several times. All cells have this outer layer that's called a plasma membrane. And each of these little things here is one molecule. That's a fat molecule, that's a fat molecule. So this little section here is zoomed in on the plasma membrane. And it's not just the fat molecules, but you can see there are proteins attached to and running through that plasma membrane. We're going to talk about those a lot because those can change the behavior of a cell and how it reacts to other cells. So we'll talk about that a lot. Now, the cellular organization is this most basic level of all living things. And in the human body, we have a lot of different cell shapes. So we have white and red blood cells. Oddly enough, the ones that look clear, those are the red ones. These larger ones with these really oddly shaped nuclei, those are the white blood cells. Neurons, these are the signaling molecules in your nervous system. They have this much different shape. These are very large cells. See all these little dots back here? Those are also cells. That's some of the difference you can see in the size of cells. These are skeletal muscle cells, the kind of muscle cells that move your arms and legs. And each of these is one cell. These are osteocytes that make your bone. Again, all of these are different cells, and these are much smaller cells. So that's the most basic level of organization of all living things and in your body. Now, when we take different kinds of cells and put them together to do a common function, we call that a tissue. And we're going to talk a lot about different kinds of tissues working together in the body. Blood is actually considered a tissue, even though it's mostly water. It is made up of red blood cells and white blood cells that do the function of transporting necessary things through the body. This is a microscope slide showing the skin, and you can see that it looks like there are a bunch of different kinds of cells making up the skin. And then again, in the muscle, we have lots of different muscle cells making up the muscle, and then they're going to have other cells that actually help them do their job. So these are 3 different examples of tissues in the body. So that's our next level of organization. When we put different tissues together to do a single function, we call that an organ. So this is a cross section through a heart from a cadaver. And you can see that although most of the heart looks like this brown material, this is cardiac muscle tissue, slightly different from skeletal muscle tissue. You can also see there's this smooth tissue. Ignore those red things. Those are just indicating specific holes in the heart. This is a different kind of tissue. There's also nervous cells in the tissue to carry signals around the heart. So there are a bunch of different tissues that work together to make up this pump that pushes blood through your body. Same with the brain. You have a bunch of different tissues that work together to make your thoughts, move your body, process sensations, keep your organs moving and working. All of these different tissues work together to make the brain. So we've got the cellular level, the tissue level, and then different tissues together make up the organ level of organization. And then finally we have the organ system. We have many organ systems. We actually have 13 in the human body. We will learn them all by the end of the semester. You do not need to learn them today. You do not need to know all the organ systems for this first test, okay? You'll get there, just take your time with that. But each of these organ systems is composed of multiple organs working together to do some function. So for example, the digestive system includes the esophagus, the stomach, the large and small intestines, but also the liver and the pancreas that all have roles in helping to break down food and get the nutrients from those foods into your body. So let's review these levels of organization. Everything starts with atoms and molecules. That's the chemical level of organization. Life starts here at the cellular level of organization. Put multiple types of cells together, you get a tissue. Put multiple types of tissues together, you get an organ. Again, this is similar functions. So all of these cells are working together as a tissue to do a function. All of these tissues are working together as an organ to do a function. All of these organs are working together as a system to do a function. And then you are an organism. Now, I do want to give a caveat about this word organism. Organismal is the adjectival form of organism. An organism is any individual living thing. Now, when we're talking about humans, an individual human is an organism. But each of the bacteria living on and in your body, and you are by far outnumbered by the bacteria on you and in you, each of those is also a living organism, and each of those is just a single cell. So an organism can be just a cell, it could be just tissues, it could be organs but not organ systems, it could be organ systems. Okay, so you are an organism that has all of these levels, but not all living things do.